I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Nikki, and I'm your host for JOBLO's new video series, Kick-Ass Ladies. Here we'll be diving into some of our favorite kick-ass lady characters in film and TV. For the first episode, we're going to discuss the ferociously awesome First Lady of the post-apocalyptic wasteland, Furiosa. Where do we even begin with Furiosa? When Mad Max Fury Road came out, I, like most people, expected to see Max Rockantasky back to doing what he does best. But something kind of amazing happened. Furiosa happened. She basically took this movie by the balls and owned it from her first scene to the very last. In all seriousness, I remember that first fight with Furiosa and Max, and my eyes were so huge. I'm pretty sure I threw both hands up in the air and let out a huge yes! When was the last time we got someone so insanely awesome? I'm asking you. There have been tons of female action characters over the years, but Furiosa is Ellen Ripley caliber. That said, let's dig in with a slight background. I say slight because we don't know much about Furiosa's background, but we do have bits and pieces that have come out in interviews and other places.
How do you know this place even exists?
I was born there.
Furiosa came from the Green Place, which was the fertile area of the wasteland. One day, Furiosa was kidnapped along with her mother, Mary Jo Bossa, who was killed 3 days later. When Furiosa was taken back to the Citadel, she was given to Jo as a new wife. However, after discovering she was barren, Furiosa was given to one of the Imperators to train as one of their own. What gets me here is, why this move? Did Jo take some kind of rare pity on her, or was this part of a larger grand plan? Especially since, from what we can tell, she seems to be one of the only women warriors amongst the army. From here, Furiosa's mentor dies, and she becomes top Imperator and driver of the war rig. According to director George Miller, at some point, Furiosa loses her arm in a huge battle. From here, I think you know the rest. Furiosa is supposed to go on a supply run and ends up taking matters into her own hands.
It's a detour.
She ventures out east to take the wives. Surprise, they were on board the rig the whole time, to the Green Place. Somewhere in the mix, Max, aka the Warboy Bloodbag, comes dashing up strapped to the Lancer perch on the front of Nux's 1934 Chevy Master Coupe. Well, he wasn't really dashing per se, he was more of a human hood ornament. And a pretty one at that. After attempting to best our heroine, Nux's car crashes in the desert, where Max awakes and drags the Warboy straight to our Furiosa, and this is where our story truly begins. We live, we die, we live again! Before we get into some truly kick-ass scenes, how did Charlize score this part? According to the actress, there were rumors going around that George Miller was going to reimagine the world of Mad Max with a female character who could go toe-to-toe with Max. Charlize at first was a little skeptical given Hollywood's history of creating somewhat flat female characters. You've probably seen these characters. All beauty, but not much complexity. After meeting with Charlize to discuss his vision, Miller won her over. And I think I speak for all of us when I say, thanks for not fucking it up. That said, if he did fuck it up, there were a couple of ladies lined up to give their perspective on the role. The bride herself, Uma Thurman, was being eyed early on for the part. And a couple of years after the release of Fury Road, Gal Gadot said that she was the runner-up to Theron. Wonder Woman could have been our Furiosa? Well, I'm sure she would have put her own unique spin on it. I think we can all agree that Theron owns this role. It hurts to think that someone else will soon be stepping into her boots, but we'll get into that a little later. Now let's get to the good stuff, the most kick-ass moments. First and very first is that fight scene. Holy shit. This is where Furiosa literally kicks ass. So much ass. Max's ass, to be specific. Through her physicality, we are witness to her awesome power. We as viewers are shown the very thing that sparked Theron's interest in the role to begin with. A woman warrior who holds her own against Max. In this moment, she steals the spotlight and takes it with her until the end of the movie. What's funny to me about this scene is that I'm always expecting a different outcome. I feel like she's so close to being the one who is doing the pinning to the ground and making Max her bitch. But Max gets one up on her. I mean, We'll give him this one. As I said, she owns this movie, so it's the least they could do. Next up, we have our second kick-ass scene, centered around one of many memorable short but sweet lines.
Don't breathe.
What's funny is that I actually recall holding my breath for a bit. This moment is actually quite tense and is framed beautifully by Miller and cinematographer John Seal. Look, even though Bullet Farmer claims he's got one angry shot for Furiosa, and even though the war rig is stuck, I knew Furiosa would have something up her sleeve. As Max goes to take the shot at the spotlight mounted on the Peacemaker, Furiosa sees that Max isn't that confident and gives him a gesture to hand his gun over. When he does, she perches the gun right on his shoulder and takes the winning shot. It's perfection. Our third and final moment also happens to be one of the most brutal, when Furiosa says,
Remember me?
right before ripping off Immortan Joe's lower jaw. There are so many fuck yeah moments in this movie, but this one really takes the cake. The line itself is quite clever, as it mirrors the War Boys' request throughout the film for them to be witnessed by Immortan Joe, before ascending into Valhalla. Furiosa wants him to remember her into his afterlife. These violent delights indeed have violent ends. So now we've looked at the most kick-ass scenes, and it's time to reveal my choice for the most kick-ass line.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Now, Remember Me and Don't Breathe were certainly contenders, but I have to go with,
Out here, everything hurts.
you want to get through this? Do as I say.
Now pick up what you can and run.
This basically sums up the movie and Furiosa's journey from when she was first taken to where they are now. This is her mantra. It's kind of like a toss between suck it up, Buttercup, and
come with me if you want to live.
She's telling the wives that you have to move past the pain of everything and use it to get yourself through. Oh, and haul last because the bad guys are right on our tail, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back into that vault. Certainly this isn't the end of Furiosa, right? No, in fact, Miller confirmed back in May that a Furiosa prequel would be coming our way. As joyous as this news sounds, there's a bit of a problem. There's no Charlize. Yes, you heard that correctly. Miller hoped that perhaps some of the de-aging techniques used in movies like The Irishman could be used to take Charlize back to her Mighty Joe Young days. Unfortunately, we just aren't there yet, it seems. I'm sure some of you out there would agree. Here's the thing though, personal opinion.
This is our Furiosa.
Charlize is aging quite well. Hell, I think we all hope that we look that good at 45. Understandably, Charlize is a little heartbroken that she's going to be replaced. But trust Miller's vision for the prequel. Rumor has it that Split's Anya Taylor-Joy and Killing Eve's Jodie Comer are up for the role. Now, there were plans to turn the prequel into an anime with art from my hero Maida, who worked on projects like Castle in the Sky, Neon Genesis Evangelion, The Animatrix, and contributed character design on Fury Road. Sadly, this concept was abandoned early on due to delays. Now, I'm not thrilled to mention this, but if you need more Furiosa in your life, you could always read the Mad Max Fury Road Furiosa comic. You might think you're getting more cool background details, but you're not. In fact, you're going to be taking a few steps backward in my opinion. The comic does nothing for the character of Furiosa, and in fact, does nothing for any of the female characters in Fury Road. It makes them look mean, catty, and insensitive. The wives question the gender of Furiosa. Furiosa slaps the shit out of one of the wives, telling her that after all the abuse and rape that she should be thankful for how good she has it. Oh, and remember how the wives wrote, "We are not things," among other kick-ass statements boldly written on the walls? The comic says they didn't do that. Their teacher, Miss Giddy, did. They also didn't beg to leave as we were told in the movie. Furiosa just takes them. The power is taken away from the wives and makes Furiosa into a bad guy. The Fury Road movie also doesn't expose us to the constant rape and abuse. We don't need it. We as viewers know what the women have been through, and the movie allows them to take their power back and put it on display instead of just showing them as victims. They are defined by their power, not by their circumstances. My apologies on the rant, but the fact that Miller would give his seal of approval on this is bullshit. From here on out, I think I'm just going to pretend like it never existed. Still love you, George. All that said, what's great about Furiosa is that she brings far more to the female action character than we've come to expect. She She isn't just plugging codes into a computer, handing over important documents, or playing second fiddle to the male lead. She's right there with him, side by side. You have to appreciate Charlize Theron for not just accepting the stereotype. She sets her sights on evolving this type of character and even upsets men's rights activists in the process. Yeah, that's a thing. So until next time, I'm Nikki, and thanks again for joining us all shiny and chrome for Kick-Ass Ladies, and I'll be seeing you at the gates of Valhalla.